Life is a breath, a blink of an eye, and suddenly we find ourselves before the mystery that transcends earthly existence. Death, for many, is the end of everything, absolute silence, irreparable separation. But what if I told you that the connection we have with those we love does not dissolve with the last breath? What if there was a bridge, invisible to the eyes but real in its essence, that allows us to continue to love, care for, and assist those who have already departed? This is the profound truth that faith reveals to us, and that the perceptions of an extraordinary soul, Saint Faustina Kowalska, help us to unveil. Imagine for a moment what happens to the soul after it leaves the body. Where does it go? What does it feel? The Church, in its millennial wisdom, speaks to us of a state of purification, a place where souls who departed without being fully ready for the glory of God, but with the certainty of salvation, undergo a process of cleansing. It is purgatory, a place of longing and ardent desire for God, where the greatest pain is not material fire, but the immense longing for the Creator, the insatiable thirst for His presence. And it is precisely at this point that the figure of Saint Faustina becomes a beacon of light. Helena Kowalska, a humble Polish nun of the 20th century, was chosen by God to be the secretary and apostle of divine mercy. Through her visions and intimate dialogues with Jesus, recorded in her diary, she opened a window for us into the reality of the spiritual world, revealing details with a clarity and depth that invite us to a more vibrant faith and a more active charity. Saint Faustina not only believed in purgatory, she saw it. In one of her most impactful mystical experiences, guided by her guardian angel, she was led to a misty place full of fire, where a multitude of souls suffered. These souls, she perceived, prayed with fervor, but their prayers had no efficacy for themselves. Only we, the living, could help them. The question Faustina asked these souls echoes in our hearts. What was your greatest suffering? And the unanimous answer was heartbreaking, the longing for God. This revelation is a watershed. It shows us that the souls in purgatory are not abandoned, but depend crucially on our intercession. They can no longer accumulate merits for themselves. They can no longer pray to lessen their pains. It is our prayer, our sacrifice, our charity that become the balm, the water that extinguishes the fire, the light that shortens the time of purification and propels them towards the fullness of union with God. What Saint Faustina teaches us is that the prayer for the deceased souls is not merely a pious act, but a work of mercy of inestimable value. It is an act of love that transcends the barriers of life and death, a bond that strengthens the communion of saints. She shows us that every Hail Mary, every Our Father, every Chaplet of Divine Mercy, every Mass offered, every indulgence applied is a breath of relief for these souls thirsty for God. Ponder the Mass, for example. It is the sacrifice of Christ renewed on the altar, the source of all graces. Offering a Mass for a deceased soul is presenting to God the greatest treasure the Church possesses, the very body and blood of Jesus, on behalf of that soul. It is an act of love so powerful that it can significantly shorten the time of purification and lead the soul to the beatific vision. And the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. Jesus himself revealed to Saint Faustina the power of this prayer, especially at the hour of mercy, at 3 in the afternoon. He promised great graces to those who would pray it, and this includes the liberation of many souls from purgatory. It is a simple prayer, yet laden with a divine promise, a direct channel of God's mercy for the souls who need it most. Faustina also witnessed the comforting presence of the Virgin Mary in purgatory.
She saw Our Lady visiting the souls, and they called her Star of the Sea, for she brought them relief. This reminds us that just as Mary is our mother on earth, she is also the mother of the souls in purgatory, interceding for them and comforting them on their journey. But why does God, in His infinite mercy, allow this process of purification and dependence on our prayers? Faustina gives us a clue. My mercy does not want this, but justice demands it. Divine justice is not a cold and implacable justice, but a justice permeated by mercy. It is the necessity for the soul to be perfectly pure to enter the presence of an infinitely holy God. And our prayer, moved by charity, cooperates with this divine justice and mercy. Furthermore, by praying for the souls in purgatory, we are not only helping them, we are also helping ourselves. There is a spiritual reciprocity. These souls, once liberated and in the glory of heaven, become our powerful intercessors. They do not forget those who helped them in their hour of greatest need. It is a network of love and solidarity that extends throughout eternity. Saint Faustina, in her diary, left us a phrase that summarizes the urgency and importance of this work of mercy. Even if it is for the salvation of only one soul, it is worth sacrificing one's whole life. This statement invites us to reflect on the value of a single soul and the transformative power of our prayer. It is not a burden, but a privilege, an opportunity to exercise charity in its purest and most disinterested form. Think of the joy a soul feels when it is liberated from purgatory and finally enters the presence of God. This joy is indescribable, and part of it is attributed to your prayer. You become an instrument of divine mercy, a channel of grace. And this experience of helping, of being useful for something so grand, is profoundly gratifying for our own soul. How can we then incorporate this practice into our daily lives? You don't have to be a mystic like Saint Faustina to make a difference. Small acts of love and prayer can have a gigantic impact. Pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy daily, offering it for the souls in purgatory. Participate in Holy Mass with the intention of suffraging the deceased. Offer your pains, sacrifices, and even the small annoyances of the day in favor of these souls. Visit cemeteries and pray for those who rest there. Every gesture counts. Every prayer is a relief. Saint Faustina's message about the power of prayer for the deceased souls is a message of hope. It reminds us that death is not the end of love, but a transition, and that our love, expressed through prayer, has the power to accompany and assist those who have already departed on their final journey to God. It is an invitation to live a deeper faith, a more active charity, and an unwavering hope in divine, infinite mercy. May the light and faith emanating from these revelations inspire us to be bridges of love for the souls who long for the fullness of God's light. May each of us become an apostle of mercy, understanding that by praying for those who have departed, we are building a legacy of love that will echo throughout eternity, also preparing our own path to the Father's house. Prayer for the deceased souls is not just a duty, but a privilege, a sublime expression of love that conquers death and unites heaven and earth. And this is a message the world needs to hear, feel, and practice.